the initials would stand obviously for over-the-counter derivatives provider. And in the middle, you've got a very, very important player, which is called the broker. The broker is essentially a middleman. So in the ODP regime, it's very important to know that the traditional Forex brokers that we call Forex brokers, we generally use the word Forex brokers, but it's a loose term because in reality, the actual word is these are CFD brokers. CFD obviously meaning, and there are loopholes in that law that don't necessarily speak to our industry. We've had some brokers which have been closed, maybe a bit too late, or maybe the penalties are not all equal. That is all part of the learning process. And we can either sit on the other side and blame the regulators, or we can actually participate. My personal choice is I choose to participate in the forums.
But at least I got my deposit out, and then you find people in local markets that are still crying over the withdrawals over the broker that closed down.
True.
They're like, hey, where's my money?
So was that a thing of like insurance was not up to date? Because a lot of people didn't get their money from that specific scenario. There's 2019 or was it 2018? When was 2020?
No. They
Are you referring to the?
Okay, JP Markets. Let's just say it. Yes, we're referring to them.
No, I'm not. I don't want to comment much on that, but just to put things into perspective, the major difference between the one you mentioned, obviously, and the JP Markets case is, in the JP Markets case, it was an attempt by the regulator to liquidate the broker.
Sure.
Now, if you go now into the Companies Act of South Africa and other relevant acts, you cannot, under no circumstance, liquidate a company which is solvent. So there were reasons why the regulator wanted to suspend the license. The license still remains suspended to this day. However, they did not have a right, according to the Supreme Court judgment, to liquidate a solvent company. So JP Markets had the bank balances to pay out everything. But there were other issues that were regulatory related, upon which their license was suspended and still remains suspended to this day. So the client's money were always secured. In that instance, insurance does not pay, because insurance is like, no, the company has money, the company is solvent. So go through the processes of whether it's liquidation or whatever that's happening and pay your clients. So I think they put out a notice earlier this year that all the clients who claimed they had been paid, and I think it's still hanging. Those who have not, I'm sure they're few. They've been advised to
KYC
pay
issues.
KYC issues, because there's still procedures and policies. But my understanding is that it still remains solvent to this day. So there was no need for the insurance to kick in. The insurance only kicks in if there's a total collapse and the company cannot pay.
Okay.
All right. So as we hear, I'm just thinking about it, because traders, we like to put in 5 rand and then make 100,000.
Of course.
Do you think, as the ODP is coming in, because I see in certain jurisdictions they're getting stricter on leverage and stuff like that. Do you think eventually South Africa will have an environment where we're very strict on leverage?
I think it is inevitable. We are going to get there. It's a matter of question of when. I have my own views around when, but people can differ. The reason why I say so is when you look into how we regulate things in South Africa, there is always a tendency to mirror 2 jurisdictions, primarily the FCA in the UK and secondarily the SEC in the United States. And simply because the FCA has long moved into when I say FCA, obviously the UK authorities, they've long moved into this issue of reducing the leverage and putting restrictions around derivative instruments precisely. I think it's a matter of time before our regulator follows suit. Will it be advantageous? There are some advantages and disadvantages of doing so, but I think it's coming. We might enjoy it whilst it still lasts.
Yeah.
But even within the UK regulations, there are still provisions that allow for higher leverages. For example, if somebody is deemed a professional trader.
Okay.
Now, that definition of a professional trader then becomes very important. So my advice to be traders is we've got a bit of time frame in front of us whereby if you're an amateur getting in the next 2-3 years, please do so well that you classify yourself as a professional trader, because professional traders do have access to extra leverage, even in the UK and Australian regulations.
Yes.
So what do you think that entails? To be classified as a professional trader, should one go write their RPEs?
Yeah, like who is a professional trader exactly?
There are multiple ways of doing it. The regulators do not necessarily specify. But at a minimum, what would classify as a professional trader, interpreting the current phase act, are guys who are licensed to be trading. And what that basically means is that they have to have some sort of experience on a category 2 license, a category 2 FSP license. To qualify for that, one would need to go through a series of things. So there are 5 major things that you look into there. You did mention one of them, although you focus primarily on the RPEs. RPEs are simply exams that are guided by the South African Institute of Financial Markets. I would encourage all traders, where possible, go onto the website of SciFirm, pick some RPEs, the exams that you can write, whether in derivatives, whether in stock markets, whether in money markets. There's a variety of them, about 6 or 7 out of them. And then when you go to the FSCA, there are regulated exams, RE exams. I would also encourage anybody who dares to listen that you, at a minimum, you might need to do your RE1 exams, your RE5 exams. And if you intend to be a professional trader on a category 2 license, then you also need to do the RE, which is the regulated exam 3, RE3. I've done all of them. It's been many years now. So those 3, RE1, RE5, RE3, they are quite crucial. So you have now dealt with the first leg. So I said there are 5 things that you need to do. So doing your regulated exams and your RPEs is just one leg. The second thing is you will be required to have a minimum of an NQF level 5 qualification with at least 120 credits in a finance related course. Please don't come to us and say I have a diploma in woodwork. The regulator will ask you to tell them how woodwork relates to derivatives, and if you can convince them, so be it.
So at this point, guys who basically dropped out of high school do not even qualify close to being a professional trader.
Not even close. However, there is a way around it. You've just got to. The good thing about South Africa is we've got multiple ways to achieving where you want to go. You can do all these CETA courses, Higher National Certificate of Wealth Management, can take 6 months. Some of them can even be done under internships, and I'm going to tell you about what we are trying to do as well in the coming year, which is quite exciting. So you need to have an NQF, which is basically takes care of your education. That's the second thing. The third thing is you need to write an exam called the Class of Business exam. In our industry, the class of business we fall under is there's 2 of them. There's investments and there's FOREX. So you need to write, it's just one exam. It can take you about an hour or 2, but the preparation thereof can take you a few weeks. There are organizations which basically do heavy OP with training. It's a cheap exam. I think last time I wrote one I wrote an additional one. I paid like 650 rands last year. So you can have multiple classes of businesses. You can do insurance, you can do short-term deposits, long-term deposits. In our case, Forex investments and normal investments.
Just to interrupt you there, do you, for the different categories, because I know some Cat 1, Cat 2 is a different...
It's the same class of business exam. There's only one, whether you're on a category 5, FSP, category 4, category 2, category 1, you just write the same class of business exam. And then, so that's the third link. The fourth one is, it's really about your CPD. And this is where now my biggest word is, because CPD is simply acronym used for continuous professional development. Now, my heart bleeds for guys in the industry, especially our IBs in the industry. They've been doing this for 10 years, for 5 years. But everything they've been doing is undocumented. You cannot go to the regulator and say, I've been an IB for 5 years. They'll ask you proof. You don't have proof. So we are saying that when you attend some of these courses, when you do, let's get them registered with the regulator, so that if I sit and I attend a workshop for 1 hour, I should be able to sign a register to say I attended 1 hour worth of training. In a year, every class of business that you are required to have a minimum of 9 hours of official training.
Okay.
Some of these hours, for example, when you attend workshops arranged by the FPI, the Finance Professionals Institute, Financial Professional Institute, you are able to sign a register. When you attend courses by the South African Institute of Financial Markets or any other provider, any ODP provider can be able to issue a register to say, I trained my staff members or my IBs in anti-money laundering. It took 2 hours to training. That's 2 points. And that's very important. It creates a record that you are being relevant in the industry. Guess what? Some of my CPD points I get every year is just by reading the budget. When the minister goes to parliament and presents the budget, I take 30 minutes to read the budget speech, but then I read it within a controlled environment where I can say, I can be verified to say that I was actually reading the budget speech. And then I get 0.5, which is 30 minutes, 0.5 hours of what? CPD points. So continuous professional development is required. And I think in this industry, we are very good at giving that. What we are very bad at is documenting. And that's one of the things that we are going to try and do in the near future, and how we document that. So that's the fourth thing. So we've spoken about your RE exams. We've spoken about your education, NQ 5 at a minimum. Spoken about your CPD points and your class of business. The final thing we talk about is your industry experience. Industry experience is very crucial. You cannot just wake up and say, I'm a professional trader without a documented experience. In the case of a category 2, the requirement is a minimum of 12 months under supervision. In other words, you are listed under an existing financial services company, FSP, for a minimum of 12 months under supervision. And thereafter, you are also required to take another 12 months. I'm talking now about the category 2 license. After supervision for you to qualify maybe as a key individual or maybe as a professional trader. And it must be in specific subcategories. In our case, if you want to trade shares, you must be under supervision in the specific category that deals with what? Stocks.
Yeah, because I actually wanted to touch on that today, but I think continue and then we'll come back to it, because I've seen some people investing in the wrong places just because the thing said like FSP. I'm there on pension funds, but I say I have a broker just because of a FSP. So I wanted us to also look at what class of business does a Forex broker have to have. I think FSCA along the line also got a bit confused on that.
They also got confused themselves. It's true. I remember it's been a struggle since 2018 having some discussions with them. We could not even agree in the beginning what is a derivative, for example. So if you can't agree on definitions, then how are we going to agree on anything else for that matter? So currently, most brokers, and by extension most traders, the requirement is to be licensed specifically in the subcategory of derivatives. So if you're on a category 1 license, which is basically giving advice and intermediate services, we are now talking of category 1.13, which is derivative instruments. The good thing about derivative instruments is that it's a broad category, because the definition of a derivative, in simple terms, it's an underlying asset. So you're not buying the actual asset. You're buying the underlying asset, or you're buying the movement in the underlying asset. So if you're looking at gold, for example, if you say the price of gold is 1,800 per fine ounce, and I'm buying a gold derivative or a spot gold CFD, I'm not actually holding the physical gold. It will never be delivered at my house. But I'm participating in the price movements of the gold. Now, the derivative, because it is a derivative of the actual gold, it is then classified under category 113, which is the derivative category. But under that same category, I can also include what? Shares. I'm not buying the actual Apple share, but I'm buying the price difference between Apple share between time 1 and time 2. Okay? So in that regard, it is a derivative. if I now move into the forex space, there is a category specifically for foreign exchange, category 1.15. Yeah, 115. But you can still trade forex pairs under derivatives license. Why? Because you're not buying the actual forex. When I buy euro dollar using my Rand account, I'm not buying the actual euro and selling the actual dollar. I'm just buying and selling the price differentials. So the differences in price between the euro and the dollar from time 0 to time 1 is exactly where I'm taking my trades. And in that regard, it becomes a derivative. Once again, if it's a derivative, it comes back to category 130. So I can do anything and everything under that one category. Can I add cryptos? Yes, I can. Now, can I add indices? Yes, I can. Can I add metals? Yes, I can. Can I add stocks? Can I add ETFs, equity tracker funds? Yes, I can. Why? Because I'm not buying the actual instrument. I'm just actually participating in the derivatives, on the derivative side. In other words, I'm only looking at the pricing of it, and I'm speculating on the price. For those who want to trade the actual instrument, like if I want to trade the actual Apple share or the actual Tesla share, then I have now got to go and get trained specifically in the shares subcategory. Now that's an extra category. But in the leveraged industry where we play in, you can actually get away with it by just operating under one subcategory, which is the derivatives category, subcategory.
Okay, so because I've seen most guys, they have long-term deposits, short-term deposits, and derivatives.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to go. Yeah, because guys, people will tell you, hey, it's a FSP broker, what? And then they're doing insurance there, and you're like, but yeah, it has nothing to do. So check that, especially with these up-and-coming brokers, because a lot of people are trying to jump into that space, and just because somebody's got a license, I think it's important to check. Like we said on the FIS, it's financial advice intermediary.
Financial Advisor and Intermediary Services Act. Yes. It's a mouthful, huh?
Yeah.
Just go face.
I just keep it there. All the acronyms there. I have them in my head, but what they stand for,
I struggle sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like you struggle.
No, it doesn't sound like it for a second. I think always just do that. So it's easy. Go to Google, be like FSCA face search, and then the next search result will give you that, where you can like click and then get the information. I don't think a reputable company would go do that, but a lot of these guys just starting their own thing, they have a virtual office, you're not too sure about them, just always go and make your checks if actually everything is in order. I don't see an international company coming through and going on a wrong license. Look, it happens. It can happen, but more especially for these new guys, especially like these traders, these local traders, they're saying, hey, I'm opening my own broker and stuff like that. Yep. Always make sure, because I know there was once, it was Cyber FX, ne? They operated quite long without a license. They told us, hey, we licensed. They had some funny code. I forgot what that code was, but it wasn't relevant. And when they left, what could people do? What can they say? Because the regulator, all they're gonna say is like, hey, we warn you, especially, and also take up these notices, sign up for the notices and the newsletters. They'll just send you a thing and they'll tell you, hey, so and so is a problem. They're imposing us this, or we don't encourage you to do business with this guy, because at the end of the day, they although they can and they jump in. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they primarily deal with issues with regulated companies. So if I came through as an unregulated guy, they won't entertain it too much unless I was saying, hey, I'm an FSP or what. But if I just said, hey, send me an e-wallet, then I believe that becomes a case that you need to take to SAPS.
Well, technically, under the law, their powers of the regulators are very broad. Mm-hmm. It's within their rights to follow after anyone who is, just like if I can't stand on the road and start taking clients' deposits and claim I'm a bank. Mm-hmm. The only dangerous thing is that in most of these cases, regulators only find out after something has gone wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So you as the clients, you're busy giving this guy money, claiming he's a bank, okay? And then only when he's run away with your money do you bother to think, oh, by the way, there's actually a regulator.
Yeah.
And by then it's too late. But if you inform them early, they're quite astute as far as responding. And I think to your point, just follow them notification, whether it's Twitter, on IG, they're everywhere. So that when something happens, you can be notified.
Yeah.
Just to take that bit of extra caution. But yes, they can. There are instances where they go out and penalize unlicensed and unregistered and unregulated market players. It's quite easy if these market players are local, because then they've got an incentive to say, okay, you're a South African company, we can actually take you to court. It becomes difficult if it's a foreign player, because then you are trading with an unregulated foreign broker, and then they run away with your hard-earned cash. They have no jurisdiction. Although it was happening in the country, they're not going to waste money flying people to the Republic of Vanuatu, checking what's happening there in that country, because it now becomes an issue of, do they have an agreement in the first place? So it's very important that we do our own homework.
So where do you think that will leave the IB in a couple of years? Do you think IBs will need to have some form of regulation or something to be like, okay, you're authorized to send signals and that, because it is financial advice at the end of the day.
The borderline is actually the most vulnerable market player in this particular moment in South Africa is your IBs.
Okay.
I'm not a prophet of doom. I don't want to be one, but I can tell you it is most likely that in this coming year, 2023, before the year end, there's going to be a serious purge on the IB business from the regulators. For two reasons. Number one, when you study the act, both whether it's the FAIS Act or the Financial Markets Act, most of the services that IBs are offering, including giving signals, training, is borderline financial advice. If it's not financial advice, at best it's a financial intermediation. So it's still classified as under the FAIS. Because under FAIS, the I, it means intermediary. So it's intermediary services. And secondly, because we are struggling currently with this, those who've been checking the news, this whole issue around FATCA, the Financial Action Task Force, threatening to blacklist or grey list rather South Africa. That's a very, very serious challenge if we are grey listed. And one of the reasons is that you do have market players, and in between you've got IBs who are introducing business, but they're unregulated, unlicensed. Nobody knows what's happening in there. It's going to be very difficult for the regulators to chase after IBs, because this is the average guy on the street.
He just wakes up today, signs up a link, and
it's difficult. But guess what they can do?
Okay.
They can chase up their brokers and say, you are receiving business via an unlicensed third party. So we are going to penalize you. Not only are we going to penalize you financially, we're going to create a black book where we mention your name out there in the public. Now, any self-respecting broker would not want to do that. But we know that most of the businesses in the brokerage industry comes via the IB channels. So what should brokers do? It is in their interest to find a way to assist their own IBs.
Okay.
Now, brokers don't necessarily like putting IBs on their licenses.
Yeah, that's
one of the
true.
chief reasons is that it's expensive to do so, because every year all brokers pay a levy to the FSCA based on how many representatives they have on their license. Now, if you end up having 50 IBs and you're paying, let's say, 3,000 rand per person, now you're going to have about 150. Is my mathing? Yeah. 150,000 rand to pay for IBs. Now, some brokers have got more than 500 IBs. Now you're going to pay for those. So that's the first thing. So, and also secondly, the broker is not always in control of what the IB actually says. Because the IB and the client, their interactions are happening on WhatsApp or a phone, at church, in a pub when both of them are drunk.
Yeah.
And you cannot always police what happens
Yeah.
when somebody's had a few drinks.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I've just submitted in my my MBA research this last month. And it was based, primarily my research project was based around what can we do as market players to assist IBs to be documented formally in this industry and avoid what's going to come in the future.
Yeah, I think that was, sorry to interrupt, but that was my next question actually, because I can see it going there, but I just want to ask, like, how do IBs now future-proof themselves to still be relevant in the game going into the future? Like, how does one today be like, hey, how do I prepare for this, what's to come, you know? Because obviously we can see it's coming, but we don't know it. Like you said, it's a matter of when.
Number one, be friends with Paul.
That's if I'm gonna charge them and I'm in the lake for that. Yeah, but there's two parts to that.
Okay.
And now that you raise it, Nobi, the first part is we've got to take individual personal responsibility. So the 5 things that I spoke about.
Okay.
For me, I had to take personal responsibility. I financed it myself. I financed my own education, financed my own everything. Tried to find out which FSP I can get under to get experience and everything else. So if an IB is making money in this industry, and you should be, otherwise you should not be an IB in this industry, we should be taking part of that money and investing in yourself. Personal development is quite key. Okay, but even with personal development, the second part of it is there's so much that you can do. So there's need for assistance from the brokers, because brokers are the ones who are licensed. And I'm saying brokers loosely, but it also includes the FSCA. So what I'm trying to put across in my proposal is, let's create FSPs, companies whose primary role is to incubate IBs.
Sure.
Okay, now let's take a guess. How many IBs do we have in South Africa? In my research, we technically came to just over 5,000 IBs. I'm talking about IBs. Anyone who knows someone and introduces business over 5,000, whether you introduce 1 or 2 clients, you're an IB.
Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
fair.
If there's over 5,000 IBs in South Africa, this has actually been verified data. And the FSCA says, and we want to make sure that each and every one of them is documented, sits on some sort of a license. And if the average levy, last time I paid the levies, it was coming, I think to be exact, around 1,300 rand. That means that we've got to have in excess of 6 million rands in levies alone being paid to the FSCA. Brokers would not want to do that. That's an expense on them.
Yeah.
So why can't we come up together and we say that if we've got an FSP whose duty it is to incubate, to give these people experience, to give these people, maybe place them on a learnership, and over 12 months until they get their qualifications, write their RIE exams, an ecosystem where they can develop. Can the regulator maybe sort of waive those particular fees? It's quite possible. Okay? If you put the regulator aside, brokers have been benefiting for the past years. The reason why brokers continue to grow, South Africa, I would call it, is like the New York or city of the CFD industry. We've got almost every single broker in the world in South Africa, unlicensed and licensed. They're all here. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why they come to South Africa is because it's business. They're benefiting from it. Why can't brokers put some of their profits aside to develop their own IBs formally? Because if they don't want to do it, they are going to lose out on the business side of it.
Yeah.
So I think we have to come together, all market players. Yes, we have to take individual responsibility if you're an IB, but also the broker industry, the regulators have to come together and say, we need to clean up this industry. And the only way to clean up this industry is to afford an opportunity. Now, we in South Africa, we talk of emancipation, previously disadvantaged people and everything else. What are we doing about it? And who are our IBs? Primarily in the young black population. So that could be a serious contribution into the economy of South Africa as well. And because we have a mature market, we have a mature regulator, we have mature brokers, I think we can get these people, all these 3 parties onto the table and come up with something quite strong. I'm already putting feelers out there into the market by sending proposals at a personal level, because sometimes you can sit as an armchair critic and criticize, but personally I'm trying to do something about it, being in touch with the regulators, being in touch with several brokers, and seeing what can do. And at the end of the day, there's also financial incentives for everyone to participate in that particular industry. So there is something that can be done about it. I would encourage every IB, every partner, up and until that happens, push more of your own personal growth. It's also important for you to do so. Why? Some of the IBs have been around for 10 years, busy giving business. They should be running their own brokerage. Why can't they do it? The major advantage I always repeat to anyone who dares listen of the ODP market is because it's given an opportunity for IBs who are serious about this industry to run their own brokers. Because what? It took the risk element out of their business. You no longer need to take deposits and supply the product or sign contract with third-party liquidity providers somewhere in some other countries. No. All you need to do is to cross the road, go to a licensed ODP and ask for a white label solution. And you say, I'm no longer wanting just to become an IB. I want to run my own brokerage. But you as the ODP, please give me your platform, give me your deposit and taking payment service providers, give me your dealing desk so that you can run the risk element of it. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to register my own company and my own website and my own brand, and I'm going to be marketing your products as mine.
Most guys are going to want their own dealing desk.
They should. Dealing desk? No. People don't know what it means to run a dealing desk. It's a very, very risky exercise. Unless you want to be unscrupulous and spike people's prices overnight, and then they're gonna get closed by the regulator. Dealing desk tells the experience.
I've got another question coming to right now. You've just mentioned something about white labeling and all that. But over the years, you've been in the industry for since 2015. You've probably seen a lot of brokers come and go. So I just want to ask, what's the average amount that a person would need to basically start a broker? Average amount, because I know it probably differs from broker to broker. I know you've probably been involved in certain.
$5,000 is enough. How much is that in rent?
Really?
Just below 100,000.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the person is smart enough to do the other things behind the scenes. Why do I say so? I'm assuming you're starting a broker. You don't have a dealing desk. You are basically like a white label on behalf of another registered ODP. So that $5,000 is just to service the initial setup. Your most important things, three most important things when you start a broker. Number one is your CRM, your back office. Now you're not going to build that; you're going to rent it. So if you're renting it, you can expect to pay anything between $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Number two is your trading platform. Unfortunately, MetaQuotes is not issuing licenses anymore. I
actually wanted to. That's an interesting one, because for Apple, I know you get different licenses. So what now? Are brokers still paying that fee for iOS, or
they're still doing this one?
Oh, they still.
This is where it gets expensive, because if you want to trade on mobile, that's $1,000 extra. On Apple, that's another $1,000. So now on two. Desktop, definitely you need it. That's another $3,000. So already, and this is on a monthly basis. But unfortunately, even then, MetaQuotes is no longer doing it. So you're looking at maybe CTrader or other providers. By the way, it's a very beautiful platform. And so if you've got those two, and thirdly, all you need is your website, your API links, how they link, or client registers, your onboarding processes. Once those are streamlined, then you're good to go.
But it doesn't seem like 5,000 is not enough.
To start, you need 5,000. To maintain it, you need an extra 5,000 every month.
Okay.
So the 5,000 just the setup. The setup is easy.
I feel like these are B2B prices.
Then you have to. Yes, I'm assuming this is a serious broker. It also depends on your service providers. There are some good service providers out there who are really going to charge you an arm and a leg. Okay. If you want the Rolls Royce of a broker, then you really would need something in the range of $20,000 to start this thing. And why am I saying it? There are things I have not mentioned. You still need your professional indemnity insurance. However, if you are to get, let's say, 10 million rands worth of insurance, you can pay it monthly in premiums. That's why I said 5,000, because some of the things can be kicked down the road. You don't have to pay them upfront. Okay, to get a license from the FSCA, it costs less than 5,000 rand. But maybe you need a compliance officer. Oh my goodness, now you've got to pay a compliance officer.
Yes.
And you need a key individual. Oh, now you've got to pay a key individual. Now those are things to be considered separately.
Yeah.
So to set it up, it's not very expensive.
Okay.
To run it, that's where the biggest problem is. On a month-to-month basis. You need cash flow that is not restricted. Maybe something in the range of, I have to put it in rand now since South Africa. You need at a minimum 200,000 every month to run it. To set it up, very easy. To run it, you need it until you start making money. From there, then the business starts paying for itself.
Then you
I'm assuming it's a white label solution. Yes.
Doing the math. For us, we looked at it. I've also looked at it. It was like, okay, have a 200k to start, and then have another 600k to run for 3 months, and then from there we'll make a plan.
That's if your business is profitable.
Yeah.
And that's why when you want to apply for an ODP, for example, the regulator will ask you for a liquidity pool, like what they call capital adequacy, to say, and this is where it gets dangerous, the dealing desk you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me give you a simple thing. A client deposits 1,000 rands into your bank account and you're a broker, and you give that client a leverage of 1:500. In reality, you've got to have 1,000 multiplied by $500 in your bank account. Okay, in this case, 1,000 rand. So you've got to have 500,000 for that one client. If 10 clients do that, you've got to have 5 million. This is where now people think it's very expensive on a brokerage, and that's why you've got liquidity providers. You do a lot of hedging, etc.
Yeah, no, I have a friend who cut off some people because he was taking on risk. So
very risky.
So he cut off some people from the broker, paid the withdrawals, and it's like, I'm cool.
No, you don't do this. You don't rob Peter to pay Paul. If you are sitting there at home, don't do this. Don't do this at home.
You spoke about a key individual.
Yep.
You're a key individual.
Yeah. For a few entities.
Yeah.
How do we become you? So it's the 5 things. If we can do the 5 things.
If you can do the 5 things, you've got 12 months experience, you can become a key individual.
And have the relevant experience.
Yeah. Managerial experience is key. But you must also remember the key individual is also the person who's most exposed in this industry, because the license of an FSP rests on the key individual. So if you've got those 5 things we mentioned, your education, your experience, your RA exams, your continuous professional development points, and you've got the 5th thing we mentioned was your class of business training. And the experience now, you needed to have the normal 12 months for everyone, plus another 12 months managerial experience, so in total 24 months. You then qualify to be a key individual. The licenses are in your name. This is the person who puts oversight everything over the business. So you run compliance, you run risk, you run finances, you run everything else. It's a good position to be because you've got access to everything and oversight, but it's also a bit risky.
You can't be friends with all your stuff. You can be friends, but not too friendly.
Not too friendly. Especially if you're... One thing I'd advise now that you mentioned the key individual issues, please, there are these things that are called KIs for hire. Rent a KI. It's a risky game. Don't do it. The regulator actually discourages it. You only become a key individual if you are actually involved in the business.
Okay.
Because if you're just there to rent your license, you don't know what's happening from January 1 to January 31. You just walk in 2 hours a month. What if the broker is doing some funny things behind the scenes there? I guess when things comes, when the proverbial hits the fan, what's going to happen is that the regulator will come after you as the key individual. And you're going to be debarred, your name is going to be published. It's not a good thing to do. It's not a good place to be.
Good money though.
If you're smart enough, good money.
If you're smart enough.
If you're smart enough, good money.
Are you smart enough?
I'm not. That's why I'm here. But there are some smart enough guys out there. Definitely.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. So you have shared
a lot with us. Yeah.
So much. Like so much.
And I know there's more. But there's only so much people can grasp.
Yeah.
I had to go and so much.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for your time. I learned today.
Yeah,
I learned quite a lot today.
Yeah.
Things to take away. I'm gonna write all my exams.
You have to.
Yeah.
I'm knocking on this to be like experience.
No, thanks so much for the opportunity. I mean, I always follow the podcast and wish more people could channel onto such things, because we provide relevant experience in the industry. And my parting note would be, I want to encourage everyone, no matter what you do, get an RIE, write exams, and it's going to serve you at the end. Because most IBs, because they are basically underserved by the fact that they don't know what's happening. And if you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, anybody can exploit you. I've had companies who've been sold licenses for millions of rands. I've had people who've been charged millions by key individuals. I know of key individuals who end up taking a significant percentage of someone's business simply because they know more than the owners of the business. I think if we invest in ourselves, personal development is quite key for each and every IB in this industry.
Sure. Powerful.
Very powerful chat. People are going to be rewinding like, I want to hear that again. Take down your notes. But yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate this. Hopefully we will sit again. We won't make it too soon. We'll let you enjoy your December.
Thank you for that. It's been a hectic 2 years with my MBA. Now I need to relax now.
Are you going anywhere, holiday, or there's no time for that?
I don't travel in December normally. I take my holiday, but we'll see what's on the table. I haven't even started thinking about it.
Okay.
But we'll see. I should go somewhere.
But
we'll check the two reservations, maybe in Bali or something.
But with this, has it been smooth? Just a side chat. Has it been smooth with Ingot?
It's been smooth. I think what makes it is the fact that you are not reinventing the wheel. It's something that you are doing for the third time. But every launch is got its own challenges, and but that's why you are there. That's why you're highly paid to sit there and make sure things get fixed. So it's been a very good ride, and we look forward to the company, not just Ingrid, but another broker growing in the industry. I think Ingrid is a serious player in the market. Let's see what they have for us in 2023.
Perfect. Excited.
Thank you. Now go check producer.
And we're out.
Out.
Yeah.